the baby boomer generation are becoming seniors now. And of course, this has an impact on the real estate market. Who better to have discussed this than Bryan Devore, the founder of Senior Savers? How you doing, brother?
Good, how are you?
Great to see you.
You too.
And you know, we've obviously got some interesting things to talk about today. And it's not just the boomer generation.
Right.
There's more to it than that.
Yeah.
Would you call it the silent generation?
Yeah, the silent generation, which is my parents' generation, and then the greatest generation, the ones who fought in World War II, you know, died and built for our country.
Yeah. And so when we have the sort of record numbers that we have right now of new seniors every day, let's say, which is just a line we've arbitrarily drawn in the sand at a certain age, right? Doesn't mean a whole lot. But because of that, we see that coming. This has an impact on real estate. And I know this is your focus. What are some of the things that you're seeing impacted in the real estate market here in San Diego specifically with regard to this generation, sort of the changing of the guard and what people are doing at those later ages with their real estate?
Yeah. So just to kind of frame it, 10,000 people a day are turning 65 in the United States. And by 2030, over half the population will be over 65. So what you're seeing is the biggest shift in age, and a lot of these people are homeowners. Most of these people are homeowners because, you know, back in the day, the American dream was alive and well. You know, you get out of the war and you get a job and you get married and you buy a house. So a lot of the homes let's talk about San Diego specifically, a lot of the homes in San Diego are owned by the boomers, the greatest generation, the silent generation. So we're going to see a huge shift in potential inventory that could come on the market, which could be a big help because of the fact that we have no inventory here in San Diego.
Maybe that's what's holding it up.
A lot of it is.
Those older individuals and couples, they tend to stay in the home for a longer period of time. They sort of have those old values. Like they don't need to switch houses every 5 years, you know, as their needs change. They just sort of change the house if they need to or whatever, but they stay there. We always hear about all the equity in San Diego. I constantly get data points of, you know, there's billions of dollars in equity and there's all these people who have tons of equity and the average LTV is 60% or, you know, whatever. It's probably less now after being up 20% year over year. So there's so much equity. A lot of that equity is probably held by these generations we're talking about.
It really is. They've been in their homes on average. I can just think of the people who I've helped just this year, and you know, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. I have a client who, she's great. She's 99 years old. Now she's ready to move into a senior living community, which we'll talk about in a second. She wrote a book 4 years ago, so she's sharp as a tack, and she's been in her home since 1950. You know, so she's been in the home for a very long time. And
my dad was born in 1951.
Right, exactly. Yeah, to frame this, right? And so there is a lot of equity built in. It's great for this generation. What I do see, though, is they don't want to tap into the equity. You know, they don't want to sell the home. They want to stay in their home longer and longer. And you know, senior living is a great option for a lot of people. And that's one of the reasons why we made the TV show Senior Savers, was to show seniors and their families what senior living was truly all about, kind of reframe it in their minds. How it's changed. It's not the convalescent home of old. And so we want to show people that. But the average age of people moving into a senior community is, I think, like 82 or 84 years old. They're staying longer. Just had my dad down for brunch the other day. He's 77 years old. That's the last thing on his mind, is moving into a senior living community. So they have all this equity, but they're not tapping into it. Yeah. It's a very different mindset than younger generations.
I wonder exactly, but very different. I mean, younger generations are leveraging equity, buying other properties, doing things for growth. A lot of these individuals, though, a lot of these seniors, they have a different sort of financial mindset.
Yeah.
Right? You never sell your house. That's just the way they do it. It's that you just don't sell your house.
Right.
You buy your house and you keep your house and you stay in your house. When they do decide to make a move, obviously they're sort of unleashing inventory and equity into the marketplace, which inventory we desperately need. This equity has to go somewhere. They're selling out, they're getting proceeds. Maybe it's going to a senior living community. Maybe it's going to an inheritance of some sort for someone, but there's a lot of money. There's a tremendous amount of wealth tied up in equity, which is really just on paper.
Right.
I mean,
until you use it,
equity
it doesn't mean anything.
It's just on paper. But think about the amount of wealth in San Diego that exists on paper right now that's attached to real estate.
Yeah.
It's a tremendous amount.
It is.
So when it does, unleash into the marketplace, it is essentially it's money in the bank. It's money that's been in the bank, in the San Diego bank, that's going to get released. Now, not all of it will come here.
Right.
Some people will have, heirs that will be in other areas, of course. That's totally possible. But there's a lot of it that will stay here.
Absolutely.
So that's a good thing.
Yeah. No, for sure. And unfortunately, some of it go to taxes, and I have had more so this year than any other year. I have had clients who've had capital gains tax issues. They're married, and they've made way more than the $500,000 exemption.
Wow.
Because they paid so little for the house.
Yeah.
And it's gone up so much in 40, 50 years. It's gone up, it's gone down, but as you know, we talked about, the trajectory for real estate is always like this over the long haul.
Yeah.
They have a lot of equity. So some of it is going to go to taxes, unfortunately, but a lot of it's not. It's a good problem to have when you have capital gains tax, because it means you have a capital gain. Some of the money will go to their care. And I think that's super important, because we want seniors to have the best quality of life for as long as they possibly can. I think in some cases they shouldn't sell the house. They should stay and tap into the equity to take care of themselves in the home. But a lot of times they don't. I don't need help. That's the generation that doesn't want to take the help. And unfortunately, we see a lot of situations like that until it's too late, and the decision to move is no longer theirs.
They're so independent that it actually becomes a problem.
Exactly. But when they are looking to move maybe into a senior community and they do unleash that equity, they will be able to live for a long time on that equity.
Yeah.
Some of these senior communities are amazing. I mean, I'm ready to move in now. I'm only 51, but it's like, sign me up. I don't have to do any cooking or cleaning or anything like that. Great. Lots of activities. It's a cruise ship on land.
It is.
They're not cheap, and so the equity that people have will help pay for that for a very long time. And I think people really need to sit down as they're getting to the point where their house either doesn't work for them physically, maybe physically they can't get around as much, it's a 2-story, maybe they need a 1-story, etc. Or their lifestyle has changed and they don't want to take care of the home or what have you. They need to really think about what's going to be best for them for the long haul. And if they really had a hard conversation, they realize they have a lot of options.
What I liked about working on the show with you is seeing that there's an opportunity for a new beginning, a fresh start. You can kind of get into a rut. You're in the home, especially for the poor souls whose spouse has departed, and they're by themselves in the house, and they have all these things that they need to take care of. It's difficult for them to do, and they don't want to ask for help from anybody. And and so they just kind of get stuck in that rut, and they stay in that rut. There's a whole new world out there for them to go experience, and that was the thing that was really cool for me. It's like, this actually is a really good opportunity to go start fresh and go, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'm 78 years old or 82 years old or whatever.
Yeah.
I've got a place here where I can go where there's new faces, there's people, there's activities, there's interaction, there's stuff happening.
Right.
There's fun.
Yeah.
There's fun in there, and minus the chores.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it really is like a party, 24/7. And so like that to me was like, you know what, that right there is something people really need to take a hard look at.
It was funny. I was talking to a client last night and her daughter. We're about to put her home on the market, and we're talking about pricing and so forth. And I was asking the daughter, what's a good time to talk? And she said, well, I'm not sure yet. I have to go. I'm going to visit my mom at her senior community. I don't know where she's going to be. She's going to be out somewhere in the building with her friends doing stuff. I'm like, sounds like a dorm living to me.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly what it is. It's a ton of fun, and she has a great time. A lot of times, especially if the spouse has passed away, social isolation, and especially with seniors, and we've seen with the pandemic, it's tragic how people are affected by it, and none more so than with seniors. And we see them decline quite a bit. Unfortunately, if there's no family around to help, then it just declines into a really, really bad situation. But if they can be in a more social environment, we see that change. But they have to embrace that change.
Yeah.
They have to be willing to move towards that change, see the benefits of it. And a lot of times they are stuck. I kind of call myself a professional unstucker. I want to unstick people and at least show them what their options are. Look at the financial aspects, look at the legal aspects of it, especially if there are heirs and so forth. Bring in the resources that will help them make these decisions, but sort of open their minds to what the possibilities are. And once they see all the options that are available for them, whether it's maybe downsize into a smaller home that's more manageable, maybe move into an apartment or move into a senior living community, there's tons of options for them that will bring them the socialization they need, give them nutrition, which is critical for them, especially later on in life. And we've seen tons of seniors who are not taking care of themselves.
Straight up.
Totally malnourished. It's just great opportunities, but they have to be open to it, and tapping into their equity is a huge plus for them.
Yeah, it's one way that they can finance it for sure. And all the work you're doing is tremendous, by the way, on this front. It's huge. Somebody's got to do it. I don't really know, a whole lot of people who are in there on the ground level making things like this happen and providing this type of resources. So thank you for that. Let's get to, sort of the brass tacks question with regard to the San Diego real estate market, which is in desperate need of inventory.
Yeah.
Desperate need of inventory. Is there enough, transitioning seniors or people who are, in this situation to have an impact? Is there enough? Are the numbers there? Because we know, so many people are becoming 65, but 65 isn't usually been set for that's another 20 years.
Right.
So will we even see the effects of this anytime soon, or is there anything to be excited about from a real estate standpoint?
I've started to see it more so than I have before. And like with everything in the economy with the pandemic, we're seeing a lot of pent-up demand. There's a lot of pent-up demand among these generations to do something different. So seniors really were not moving last year. This year we're seeing them move in, I don't want to say record numbers, but a lot more than they were before. So we are starting to see a lot of that inventory coming out. And yet we don't see the numbers moving a lot. When you look at kind of globally, San Diego's inventory as a whole is declining, still going down, not going up. So, what's going on here? So I think it will take a while. It takes a long time for a Navy ship to turn in the water. It's the same type of thing. It's going to take a long time to see the effects of this inventory coming on the market, but it's not just a one-sided equation. There could be a ton of properties coming on the market, but if we got more people moving here and more people being, of the age where they want to buy a home who already live here, doesn't matter if demand is going to still outstrip supply.
I think that's the problem, is the absorption is just so quick.
Right.
It's just so immediate, when things hit the market, especially good inventory.
Right. And these homes typically need a lot of work. A lot of times I'm working with seniors, we'll remodel their homes when we sell the homes because they look great for 1972, but they don't look great for today's standards. So people are buying homes, if they haven't been remodeled from seniors, they're going to need a lot of work. It takes a lot of money to do that. More people want turnkey homes, so we have to provide solutions for seniors to get the highest value for their home by doing that. And not all these homes are in the areas where people necessarily want to move to. If there's a lot of homes in the suburbs, but more people want to move into the city, for example, it's not really going to help. So it's going to help for sure, but there's a lot that goes into it to kind of figure out if it's going to be the saving grace.
Yeah, got it. Mr. Devore, thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure as always. Thank you, Derrick.
Hey, share this with your friends. Let's help make them smarter than everyone else.